You're listening to the Chapter a Day Bible Study. I'm John Stange, and today we're in Genesis 37. Joseph has dreams and is sold by his brothers. Genesis 37 opens a new chapter in the story of God's people, and it takes us into the complicated, emotional world of Jacob's sons. When you read this chapter, you can almost feel the tension building in that family. Jealousy, fear, pride, hurt, misunderstanding. It all rises to the surface. And yet, right in the middle of this very human story, God is quietly preparing a path that will lead to rescue and redemption. You start to see that Joseph's life is pointing ahead to someone greater, someone who will also be rejected and betrayed and eventually lifted up to save his people. The chapter begins with a simple introduction. We see this in verse 2. It says, "These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was pasturing the flock with his brothers." Joseph is young, faithful, and growing into his role within the family. But he's also the child of Jacob's deep affection, and that creates a storm. Verse 3 says, "Now Israel loved Joseph more than any other of his sons, and he made him a robe of many colors." You can almost picture the brothers watching Joseph walk around wearing a garment that quietly reminded them of their father's preference. Well, their reaction feels painfully human. Verse 4 says, "But when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than all his brothers, they hated him and could not speak peacefully to him." The tension only gets stronger when Joseph shares two dreams that the Lord gives him. He probably didn't fully understand the meaning yet. He was simply telling the truth. But to his brothers, this sounded like arrogance. In the first dream he told them about, their sheaves of grain bowed down to his. And in the second dream, he says in verse 9, the sun and the moon and 11 stars were bowing down to him. His father rebuked him at first for sharing it, and yet, it says in verse 11, his father kept the saying in mind. Something about those dreams felt significant. Something about Joseph's future felt different. When Jacob sends Joseph to check on his brothers near Shechem, the story turns. Joseph is simply doing what he's asked, but the brothers see this as their moment. Verse 18 says, "They saw him from afar, and before he came near to them, they conspired against him to kill him." The hardness that had been building inside them finally spills out. Reuben tries to soften things by keeping them from killing Joseph outright. They strip him of his robe, they throw him into a pit. But then a caravan appears. Verse 25 describes Ishmaelite traders carrying spices and goods on their way to Egypt. Judah suggests a new plan. In verse 27, he says, "Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites." It feels like a simple way to remove Joseph from their lives while avoiding murder, but it actually becomes the first step in God's plan to raise Joseph into a position of influence and rescue. Joseph is taken away. The brothers bring the robe back to Jacob, dipped in goat's blood. Jacob mourns deeply, and he says in verse 35, "I shall go down to Sheol to my son mourning." The chapter ends with Joseph being sold once more, this time to Potiphar in Egypt. It looks like the end of a life, the loss of a son, and the collapse of a dream. But it isn't. It's the beginning of something God has quietly put into motion. Now, as you sit with this chapter, you can start to see the shape of Jesus' story forming. Joseph, the beloved son, is rejected by his own brothers. Jesus, the beloved son of the Father, was rejected by his own people. Joseph is betrayed for pieces of silver. Jesus was betrayed for silver as well. Joseph is handed over to foreigners. Jesus was handed over to Roman authority. And just as Joseph will rise to a place of honor in Egypt, Jesus rose in glory and now reigns as king. Joseph's suffering wasn't pointless. It became the very pathway God used to save Jacob's family from famine. In the same way, Jesus' suffering wasn't pointless. It was the path God used to bring salvation to all who trust in him. Genesis 37 shows us a pattern that becomes bright and unmistakable when Jesus appears in the New Testament. God takes what looks like evil and redeems it. He takes betrayal and turns it into blessing. He takes heartbreak and turns it into hope. This chapter is also a reminder for your own life. God sees what you can't see. Joseph didn't understand why he was sold, betrayed, or sent away. And you probably have moments when you look at your own life and wonder why certain things happened. I know I certainly do. The path feels unclear. Maybe people have wronged you, or dreams have been delayed or completely altered. And yet the same God who guided Joseph is guiding you. He can take the pieces of your story that feel confusing or painful and use them for purposes you can't imagine yet. Joseph's journey starts with rejection, but it ends with redemption. Jesus' journey goes through the cross, but it ends with resurrection. And your story in Christ is held in those same hands. You can trust the one who works through every detail to bring you to the place he's preparing. God's faithfulness runs right through Genesis 37. It runs through Joseph's life as well. And in Christ, it also runs right through yours. Thanks again for listening to today's episode of the Chapter a Day Bible Study. For more resources to help you in your walk with Christ and your understanding of the Bible, please visit my website at BibleStudyHeadquarters.com. And if you'd like to partner with me by becoming a supporter of this ministry, you'll see a few options to do so, again, at BibleStudyHeadquarters.com or in the description of this episode. As always, thank you for your prayers, thank you for your support, and thank you for your willingness to share this content with others. Have a great day, and I'll see you again right here tomorrow.